Hi, this is Joe Speaks Truth. Just 3 years ago, New York City was placed under the harshest lockdowns out of the whole country. While things seem that they're going back to normal, I want to invite you all to listen to the untold stories of the many New Yorkers that had to survive lockdowns and vaccine mandates. Hello everyone, this is Joe Speaks Truth, and today I have Dana with me. Dana has worked in retail. She's also now a medical freedom activist, and she's also a home health aide. How are you doing today, Dana?
I'm doing all right, thank the Lord. Hanging in there, praying my way through all of it, honestly.
Well, I'm glad that you're here because we have a lot to unpack. It's now the year 2023, and it seems like New York City is allegedly, quote unquote, going back to normal. The vaccine mandates have been removed from the working force, but is it really being removed? So that's why I have Dana here today, so I can get her perspective on what she went through from 2022 now. So Dana, to start off, I want to ask you, how was your life before 2020?
To be honest with you, my life was a roller coaster before 2020, but I think that this humbled me in a way. I learned a lot. I was in the middle of actually getting divorced in 2020. So that was like a lot for me because it's just me and my daughter. But I worked hard. My daughter was in school. My daughter's in special education since she's 2.5. My daughter's autistic. She was diagnosed in 2015. So I had 2 jobs. I was working, trying to pay my bills, doing stuff with my daughter, and then obviously the chaos hit. Mm-hmm. When my life started getting smooth, that's when it hit. So
okay. So before we touch, that very delicate subject, when they made the announcement on the news that there was a global pandemic, what was your first initial reaction?
Now, it's funny you said that because I was in the park with my friends and our kids, and people were talking about it at work because, like I said, I work in retail. People were talking about it. And I noticed that a lot of people were getting sick and they weren't being diagnosed, so to say, correct. The doctors didn't have any answers for why people kept getting sick. They kept saying it was a respiratory issue. I heard it from my cousin. I heard it from coworkers. I heard it from friends of mine, like I said. And then people started getting concerned. I got phone calls. Dana, go stock up on your food. I'm not going to lie. I didn't take it seriously. And the only reason why I didn't take it seriously was because before Hurricane Sandy hit, we had Hurricane Irene. They told us to stock up. Some trees fell. It wasn't anything crazy. So I wasn't really taking it seriously. And then once it hit, it was obviously really hard to find a lot of things that you needed. So it was confusing to me, but the way I see it is when I knew that obviously it was a bunch of bullshit, excuse my language.
I was going to ask you, when did you realize that something was off?
When they said we weren't allowed to go to church, I said, no, something's up. That's when I knew something was up. Now, I'm not going to say that I had a case of it. I did get sick during the time that they did lock us down. I had a dry mouth and my tongue was white. And my throat was really dry. And my fiance works at a diner. He's a waiter. So I called him saying I wasn't feeling well. So supposedly I must have gave it to him. He came home, he got sick, and then he stopped working because everybody didn't know what was going on. So people were freaking out, and a lot of people getting sick that I knew March and April of 2020. But where we felt that it was suspect was when they were telling you that you weren't able to go to church. So I'm like, but you're saying that the strip clubs and the liquor stores could be open.
And the abortion clinics were open as well.
So that didn't sit right with me. And that's when I knew, I'm like, yeah, this is obviously evil out to get us. And then from there, I started just digging deep, the rabbit hole. And I literally found out a lot. Now, the funny part is I've been dating Gabriel since 2018. And I thought he was crazy because the things he was telling me about politics, I was never political. I never really went down the rabbit hole with it. I was kind of never voted. I didn't vote till 2020, which I literally just turned 30 years old. So politics really wasn't in my conversation, say. But when he started showing me before what the Democratic Party was doing, not that I'm not saying the Republicans are perfect, not at all, but the pattern just started unraveling. And I'm like, okay, like there's a lot of evil things going on that a lot of people didn't know about until you start literally doing the research. So I feel as a person that God had to sit me down to show me the truth. And then from there, I lost friends. People thought I was a conspiracy theorist. I'm an extremist. I started getting into arguments on social media with people, with Facebook. They put me in Facebook jail like 2 or 3 times. So I started seeing the censorship. Then when you go on Instagram, there's certain things that you're not able to say. They're telling you how to say it. And I'm like, okay, people can't say we're not under attack. This is a real thing. I don't care what's your political party, what you believe in. We're being attacked from within. It's domestic. And it's obviously foreign as well. But there's a lot of people within our country that don't like our country. And for the people that are speaking the truth are being, they're being attacked. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you touched on so many things like losing families and friends because you decided to voice your opinion. And then you mentioned the censorship on social media. My account has been put on pause on Facebook. I honestly have to say, I think more than 6 times on Facebook. I'm actually shocked I still have a Facebook account because I know some people whose accounts were wiped clean. Mm-hmm. Like just especially after everything that happened, like January 6th, I wasn't there or anything like that. But they're just been shutting me down and saying that I'm violating community standards. Mm-hmm. And on Instagram, if someone like I seen people like insult me, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I try to defend myself and I say something back, even if it's not like a curse word or anything like that, if I put a certain word, Instagram gets triggered and it says, "Oh, you're being a bully. Yeah, you're harassing somebody." But I'm like, so why was the person allowed to openly call me a Nazi and a white supremacist? Yes. But when I say something back and it's not a curse word or anything like that, you're right. It's just like a regular like, okay, well, if you are dishing it to me, then you should be able to take it. So why can I defend myself? But it's okay for somebody to call me a Nazi, a white supremacist, a conspiracy theorist. And Instagram doesn't flag that down as harassment or bullying. But when I, the opposite party, want to defend myself, and I'm not using any word that is like, oh my God, I'm not using a racial slur or anything like that. To me also. Instagram is telling me that I need to watch my language. Yes. It's very 1984 George Orwell, where we have a police state that they need to monitor how we live. We can't go outside. We can't love one another. We can't touch one another. We can't talk. Literally, and not even through our phones. We can't text through the phone that we bought and paid for every month to keep it running. Like, how can people sit here and say, well, you're spreading misinformation? Who is to say what is the appropriate information?
100%. But even so, if it was misinformation, we're still supposed to be able to voice our opinions. Right. And that's where it comes down to. Our First Amendment is being violated. It's being attacked. Whatever I want to say to you, I'm not saying sometimes my words cannot be correct.
Same here.
It's called freedom of speech, though. And it's hypocritical because now, not to deep dive in, but I just noticed something because I look from the outside looking in. A video went viral of Sam Smith. Okay, and now...
Is it the Grammys?
Yes. Okay. Now, obviously, I know, whoever said with whatever they said, but they are entitled to their opinion and say. And, of course, because the news and a lot of the media is so one-sided, this person's a bigot, they're an extremist, they're a homophobe, they're this, they're that. But it's okay when it comes down to them mocking what people believe in. This is where it's persecution and where it's literally spiritual because it's biblical. And this is where I tell people like to say, well, you can't mix politics with, I don't want to say religion because it's not. A relationship with Jesus is not the same. It is. And when you read scriptures in the Bible, these things happen already and they're happening again. So people don't like to hear the truth though, but it is what it is. For what we believe in, we're being attacked. And this is where I say it's God's will be done. If it's me to be sacrificed for others, to speak the truth, I'm always going to do that. 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. It's never going to be 5. A man is a man. A woman is a woman. And I'm going to stand on that for the rest of my life because I'm not living in a fantasy. And they get offended, but it's okay for you to offend us. It's one-sided and it's evil at the end of the day.
No, I definitely, I agree, because during this whole lockdowns and the mask and no mask, the things that were said to us by people because they were programmed by the government to start behaving like the state police. I mean, we were denied service. We were not allowed to go into restaurants eventually. It started with the mask, then it escalated with the vaccine mandates, right? We were called selfish, bigots, white supremacists, conspiracy theories, and that was definitely okay. And I do notice, I'm assuming that you're a Christian, correct?
Yes.
I do notice that the media loves to mock Christianity. I mean, you don't have to be a Christian to see that. It's just right there in your face and it cannot be denied. So it's definitely one-sided. I do believe that this battle is more spiritual than physical because they have all the money that they need. Yeah, they shut down businesses. Many of those businesses were not able to recover. Some of us have to take 2 or 3 gigs now. I'm talking for myself and you as well, because a lot of us were fired because of mandates and things of that nature. And we were not able to apply for unemployment. But when I say that this is spiritual, because this is a battle for your soul. The whole mask agenda is a dehumanization agenda, taking away your empathy and your individuality. Taking away the way that we as human beings can relate to one another is through facial recognition.
100%.
And if you take that away,
think about a child. You're just meeting a teacher and their face is covered. We have to be open-minded, and this is where I'm open-minded. I'm putting myself in a child's shoes. If I was 4 or 5 and kindergarten is like the best time when you're a child, it's not anymore because of what they're trying to teach them. But the fact of the matter is a child is going to be afraid when they're not seeing somebody's face expressions that they're in front of for 6-7 hours a day. It's unbelievable. And then you expect these kids to be happy? How? Did you live your life like that? This is what people have to ask themselves. Did you live? I don't care if you want to say this is not the new normal. I'm never going to accept that. And I don't care who takes it offensively. You could do what you want. We're being forced to do something that we don't want to do. And that's where it comes down to, people getting upset, people getting emotional. We're human beings. You're telling me in order for me to go to a hospital, if I'm sick, that I have to wear this mask. Meanwhile, if I take it off and you got to give me a test, does it even matter? Of course not. So the way I see the whole mask fiasco is, it's for literally criminals to create chaos within the cities and cover their face. I could put a mask on and go do some criminal activity. Not that I'm saying I am, because they're getting away with it. You're not able to identify a suspect when they have a mask on their face. It's not to protect us. That's where people are being deceived. If 3 years later, people are still getting sick and you got your jab and you got multiple jabs in your arm and you're still getting sick, you should know by now that the masks don't work. You're being lied to, but I think we're way past that. It's to the point where people don't want to be on the outside. They don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm okay with being uncomfortable. I'm okay with people looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm fine with that. I got past that. At first, I didn't like to be in the spotlight. I was a very private person. I wasn't as outspoken, but I feel like now...
So you felt that you were pushed to do that because of everything that was happening.
It took me out of my character, but I think I'm happy it did, because it's molding me to the person I believe that God wanted me to be.
And then you also are a mother, so you have to protect 100%. Your child, at all costs. And that's one thing that I feel like if people are not going to fight for anybody, at least do it for your child.
100%.
And you were mentioning about the hospital. Regarding that, I know there was an incident in which your mother was hospitalized and you were not allowed to see your mother because of your vaccine status. Is that correct? And what 100%. Hospital did that happen in?
So this actually happened in Maimonides, Brooklyn, on Kings Highway in Brooklyn. There's multiple locations. My mom was hospitalized. They said my mom was on a ventilator, so that made me freak out a little bit, because the first thing I thought about was remdesivir, because I know that that's what they were giving people and why people were, God forgive me, passing away. So I wanted to be there with my mom, and they were giving me a problem. Now, this is where not everybody knows what they're doing, and I feel like it's every job at this point. It's not even just hospitals. They told me I was able to go in the emergency room, but now because she's upstairs, I'm not able to go up there. Can you tell me what's the difference? Because I don't think there's a difference. So what I said to the security guard in the front, I started asking questions, and this is where people are triggered, because now we're at the point where they just want to do their job and be left alone. No, we're going to question you. We have rights, and you have our loved ones in these hospitals. We have a right to ask whatever we want. And if you get upset, then I guess you should quit your job. That's the way I see that. And I asked the security guard that said, give me your ID and your pass. And I said, I don't have a pass. Well, I can't let you up. I said to him, so let me ask you a question. If I had a pass, how would you know I'm not sick? He got mad that I asked him that, because it doesn't make sense. So if you can't answer that, that should say to yourself that this is a bunch of bullshit. Excuse my language, but because I asked questions, now I'm a problem. I'm a threat. Kick me out. So what I said to them was, I didn't care. I said, okay, you're going to kick me out. I'm going to shut down your hospital. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I was serious what I said. I obviously did a live, because I feel like, like I said, I was a private person, but I really am grateful for all the like-minded people that I have met, because they kept me sane. And people that I didn't know literally came to help me get me into the hospital for my mom. Mm-hmm. I can't thank them enough for that. I feel like we all developed some type of bond for each other, like love, because we have to look out for one another. They don't care about us. So how can we not stand up for one another at this point? We're going to just let them step all over us? Like, no. If it was somebody else and I was able to go, I would have did it too. So that, I love everybody. I can't thank them enough. Joy was there for me. My words weren't the greatest. She actually was my advocate to get me up there. And once we started talking about patient bill of rights, everything changed. And this is where they want to dumb us down. And this is where, I'm not saying I'm perfect and I'm still learning as I go. We're in a time where you have to be educated. This is the time that you really have to put your thinking cap on. Like we used to say in school, that you have to be open-minded and know that where we are in life. And if we're not going to question, they're just going to step all over us. And I'm not going to have that.
No, right. I mean, I remember when that situation happened, and I remember the commotion, and I remember all the people that went there.
The emotion, like I was a mess.
I can only imagine. I mean, let me ask you this. Were you thinking that perhaps they were going to, how can I word this so that it doesn't sound extreme? Where obviously you were worried what they were going to do to your mom, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And secondly, did you also think like, okay, the fact that you even brought people now, and there's like people outside that are they're protesting on behalf of you and your mother, did you even think like, okay, maybe me doing that could also potentially, perhaps maybe they might actually end up actually doing something against your mom? And I'm not saying that.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Just because you just never know.
I prayed on it. I heard people tell me don't do it. But I'm like, you know what? If it's standing for the truth, I don't see why God wouldn't want me to do that. This is my mom. God says to honor your mother and your father. That's one of his commandments. And my mom is the only parent I have left. I lost my dad in 2020 with the pandemic. And
I'm sorry.
My dad died in 2020.
In a nursing home or?
No, in the hospital.
In the hospital? Okay.
Before they started pushing the passes. But when my dad was sick, literally only 2 people could go up at a time. 2 people a day. And before he was passing away and they told me that he only had hours to live, I had to put my foot down with the administrator and tell them that if my father's about to pass away, you have to let other people come up here and say their farewell. You can't just tell me 2 people. That's not, like, how are you supposed to cope with that? None of us should have to go through that. So because I put my foot down, they told me to give them a list of who was going to come up and they would let them, and they did that. But still, I wasn't able to stay there.
Before 2020, there would have been no need to do that.
100%.
But now everything changed after that, and it's still in some hospitals, even though they have removed the mask mandates, etc. In some hospitals, they're still operating in that way. You still see a whole bunch of people wearing masks. You still see some doctors or specialists
testing,
telling you, "Oh, do this, do that." So it's insane, isn't it?
It's insane.
And it's 2023.
2023, and everybody. I don't want to say everybody. Whoever got their experimental jabs or whatever you want to say they are. If we didn't go back to normal yet, I don't care. I know that people have to be questioning in their head, but a lot of people don't want to be put on the spot, and this is where we're being separated.
I agree. So since we're talking about public health and safety and all those things, I know, and I've been a witness to this, that you have embarked in a health fitness journey. For the past few years, we've seen how they have said that the health is masks and vaccines. What do you have to say about that?
Well, my health wasn't in the greatest shape before 2020. I got high blood pressure and a thyroid condition. Right away, the doctors wanted to put me on the meds. I took them for a little bit, and then I'm just like, I don't want to take it. I don't trust pharmaceuticals. I was a person that did trust pharmaceuticals a while ago when my daughter was a child, like little, small. But now seeing what they're doing, I'd rather go the natural way. So I started juicing. I started smoothies. I started going, obviously things cost money, but you get what you pay for. I've been going to a health food store and buying natural herbs for like my thyroid and blood pressure. And I have the people that work there, like any type of anything that I want to buy, they'll give me information on what to get, what I'm having issues with, and it's honestly working. And I'm not taking the medication for the last 6 months. My pressure's been well. My thyroid's getting better. Because I don't want to be poked up with needles. I don't want to be on any medication. I don't trust it. And the funny part is bringing up the medication. My daughter actually got a little sick in December for the Christmas break. And I took her to the doctor. While I like her doctors, he's very open with me he doesn't push medicine like that. He didn't push the jibbity jab. He didn't push any of that. He's an older doctor. And he was telling me Chelsea might have the flu. So I'm like, okay. He did a flu test. It comes out that she didn't have the flu. So he's like, she could be getting the flu. But guess what he tells me? And I didn't ask him to tell me, but I love him for this. And I know that he's probably not going to be in practice that much longer. But he says to me, I don't want to give her Tamiflu. And I said, okay. And I gave this to her before. Chelsea had the flu a few times. And he says, the reason why I don't want to give it to her is because it's toxic. So I said, wow.
I'm impressed.
I gave him a hug. I said, Dr. Mashalik, thank you for your honesty. And he referred me to a Russian pharmacy, and they have natural meds. I actually been seeing it pop up on my phone, and I post them. It's called a brand called Boiron, Boiron. It's a natural medicine. They're like pellets. It's like it's a little sweet, not too much. It's kind of like Humphreys when you gave your child when they were teething. And it comes in a tube, and they have something called belladonna. It's for a fever. And you give it to them, and it literally, Eli and Chelsea wound up getting sick because obviously they live in the same household. They were healed in 3 days. I gave them natural teas. My friend gives me like honey she gets from like a farm, and they were fine. I didn't have to give them anything toxic. So a lot of the stuff that's being sold in the pharmacy, and this is why I tell people this is where we have to start looking at ingredients, because a lot of our stuff has a lot of chemicals in it. And people, if you're not educating yourself on that, you're just going to buy whatever's off the shelf, because I was one of those people now. But because I've been changing the things I'm consuming, I don't get as sick as I used to.
And one of the main reasons why I think you and we had a live together on Instagram, and you said, why I asked you, like, why you wanted to get into this health journey was because of your child, correct?
Yes.
And why is that so important to you?
Because I believe that my daughter has a adverse effect from a vaccine. I took care of myself pregnant. I literally worked till I was 8 months pregnant. I was due October 14th of 2012. I had Chelsea October 8th of 2012. So I was full term. I was 39 weeks. I was healthy. I literally only put on 40 pounds. I had a C-section. She's 7 pounds, 4 ounces, 18 and a half inches, healthy baby. She had all her milestones. She sat up when she was supposed to. She rolled over when she was supposed to. She started talking at 18 months. I took her for her annual vaccinations, and my daughter stopped talking. And I wasn't the only one that had this problem. So I believe, and like I said, I don't care if people think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe that there's too many autistic children, and they made it a norm. And I'm literally trying to detox my daughter, because I believe that there is a block somewhere within her brain that came from whatever was in the vaccines that they have given my daughter. I honestly believe that. Mm-hmm. So I've been detoxing her. She's eating different now. She's open. She's not as picky. She's more vocal. She tells me her feelings. She's came a long way. And I obviously I prayed on that as well, because having a child with a disability isn't an easy thing. My daughter stopped talking at 18 months, and then she didn't start talking till almost 3.5. So it was a very rough time for me as a new mom with only one child, learning that my daughter hasn't had any vaccine since she's 5, and I will never give her another vaccine. I don't care what it is. I don't want her to have it. I don't feel like she does.
And it should be your right, because it is your child.
100%. But they want to force it on them because they're not going to be able to go to school. So I guess God's going to give me another route. Because my daughter's actually going into middle school next year, and I know they're going to want her updated immunizations, and I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
I refuse.
As you should. And I'm like, honestly, when I hear parents like yourself, I'm so proud to hear that, because we need more mothers and even fathers to be so quick to just defend their children in the same way that you're doing that. So you should definitely be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And continue to talk about this topic. Financially, how were you hit in 2020 and 2021 because of everything that happened? My
savings, for the love of God, but I believe God will make a way. Like I said, I had 2 jobs. Gabriel had 2 jobs. We were raising 2 kids under the same roof. Then I got hit when I had to move, so that was a big thing where I had to like literally put all like everything, dimes, pennies, whatever you want to say, together to get another apartment, which definitely isn't easy in the state of New York because of what they want from you. And it's been a roller coaster. Small businesses went under, so Gabriel's been on and off with work. His boss is actually opening up the new location. We're praying that it goes well. It's in a busy area, so he will be going back to work soon. He takes care of his dad. I take care of my mom, and I actually just started taking care of my mom's friend because inflation is up, and there's not enough money when you have children, so you got to work
So it's like,
extra hard.
so it's kind of like we were hit, financially starting from 2020 New York City. Well, I say the world because they shut down everything. But New York City was really going through it. I think New York City and I would say New York and California to be exact as far as like the United States is concerned. And then now all of a sudden we're getting so quote unquote out of this, but yet now there's inflation. There's just so many things going on. There are businesses that were never able to open up again, unfortunately. But I think the businesses should have, stood up for themselves and said no.
I agree. Put their foot down.
Right. So there's that topic, but yeah. And it's like in New York, we just have to find a way to hustle. Many of those laws are professional careers and things of that nature, businesses, like I already stated, and it has been hard, it has been rough. And the point of this is like to show like, okay, well, it started in 2020. It's now 2023. And here are the consequences, right? Not just from the financial level, because I feel like you can take all the financial things that you want away from me.
Yes.
But we were also impacted emotionally, physically, spiritually. I mean, in such a negative way, and everybody seems to try to pretend now that it's all normal, everything is fine, the restaurant is open, you're not being discriminated anymore, blah 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 blah. But no, I'm not. I would never forget. I would never forget, because if we forget our history, we are going to repeat it again. And it seems like a cycle to me.
It is.
From what I've seen, slavery, the Holocaust, or this genocide here, or this war over there. And we keep going over the same thing every generation. It does not change. Why is that happening? Because people don't learn. Now, for the last thing, I want to say, what are the final message? What's your final message to the world?
My final message is, I believe prayer is needed no matter what we're going through. I believe if we put God first, He will provide, He will guide us. I feel like we need faith more than ever, because at the end of the day, like you said, they could take our money, but they cannot take our souls, as long as we believe that God is there for us, as long as we put Him first. And that's why I say it's such a spiritual battle, because a lot of people are so worried about the materialistic things, but at the end of the day, it's written, we're leaving naked. We're not taking anything with us. We're not taking our money. We're not taking our clothes, our jewelry. None of that's coming with us. What matters is where our soul is going. And this is where I'm learning that I don't blame people for where they are. I pray that they stand up more and not be afraid, because God says not to have fear, to walk by faith, not by sight. And I believe that because it's literally a spiritual battle, and this is a battle to get your soul. And this is where we have to be spiritually connected with our Creator, because He's the one who created us. And I believe that we all have a purpose, and every day we wake up, there's a reason why we're here. So every day I wake up, I pray that God makes me a better person. And I always remember, because like I said, I'm still learning as I go. I'm learning to use my words correct, and not, I was the one that would curse you out. I got better with it. But what I always tell people to understand is Jesus said when He was on the cross, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. They do not know what they're doing. And this is where I pray for them, because their souls are literally on the line. And that's all we have is our souls. So this is where I humble myself, because I wouldn't want to be them at the end of the day. I want to be a better person every day I wake up. So that's what I pray for the world, to have faith, pray. I mean, I'm not telling you what to believe in. We all have, people believe in whatever they want to be. I believe Jesus is real. He's in my life. He literally changed me. He's changing me by the day. I'm more of an open person. I care more. I love more. And that's the way I'm raising my kids to be, and not judge others. Don't act like you're better. Nobody's better than anyone. And God loves us all, whether they believe it or not. It's just, what's the side that you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of truth, or do you want to be on the side of lies? I choose to be on the side of truth. And I know because I'm standing on the side of truth, you know, Jesus says he's the way, the truth, and the life. And that's because he is the truth. And because we're standing on truth is where we're going to be attacked, and we're going to need God to be in the forefront in order to get us through it. That's the way I see that.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for sharing that with me today. And I truly hope that your words reach a lot of people, because a lot of people need to hear the different perspective from the people in New York City that were affected by this tyranny that was placed upon us. But again, I want people to remember that you have the power, you can say no, and that it's perfectly fine to defend yourself, and that there's still time for some of you to change your mind. And the point of doing this is not to shame anyone. It's not to judge anyone, but it's to get the conversation going, because we cannot just sit here and pretend like we have not been violated for the past few years, because that's not, that's not the case. But Dana, thank you so much. And again, I really hope that your words can reach and open up the hearts and the mind of people. So thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
I hate this part of the end. I hate this part of the end. Oh, I didn't know Jojo was here.